This is the pith helmet, sometimes called the safari hat, the topi, the Bombay bowler, or the sun helmet. It is commonly seen in movies and TV shows as the go-to hat when going to Africa, exploring mysterious locations, or when going on a hunting trip, especially during the 1900s. But this helmet has an unlikely origin. It came not from Africa or India as was popularly believed, but it came from, out of all places, the Philippines. How did this helmet, which became a global fashion trend in the 19th and 20th centuries, came all the way from here? To understand this helmet's origin, we need to go back to the 1500s. The pith helmet derives its design from this hat called the Salakot. It was one of the headgears worn by natives in the islands to protect themselves from the sun. The salakot is made from various materials ranging from bamboo, bottle gourds, and even turtle shells. This hat is just one of the many designs from a family of Asian conical hats seen throughout the continent. It also had a wide variety of regional designs and was used by virtually all ethnic groups in the Philippines. But then came the Spaniards who started colonizing the islands, and with their colonization, they also brought with them their clothing and other cultural influences. But somehow the salakot was retained, mostly due to its reliability protecting the wearer from the damp and humid tropical climate. From the peasantry to the local nobility, it was a staple headgear worn throughout the islands, alongside Western hats. Some are even decorated with elaborate ornaments to show off their wealth and status. The Spaniards soon adopted the salakot as one of the headgears for their military and police, first by their native forces, afterwards by regular soldiers. Once they adopted the headpiece, other colonial powers took note, with the French being the first to adopt it in the 19th century for their troops in Indochina, now Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Some French colonies from the other side of the world, like in Guadeloupe, even created their own variants. Soon, almost all of the colonial powers adopted some form of the salakot, with the word even entering European lexicon as the definition of a sun hat. The British redesigned the hat to suit the needs of their colonial troops in search of a more lightweight alternative. Attempts to make one like the Colind helmet were unsuccessful as they were rather unwieldy for the wearer. But a colonial patterned salakot, often called planters' hats, soon emerged, which is made out of the plant Escinomene aspera, or shollow pith, hence the name pith. The plant is mainly grown mostly in marshy wetlands like in Southeast Asia and India, which is where it gets its association with the country. The colonial patterns soon evolved into the now famous Wolsey pattern pith helmet worn by both military and civilian populations in their colonies. It was widely used during the scramble for Africa in the 1880s, and even during both world wars, not just by Britain, but all colonial powers like Germany, France, and even Italy. During the occupation of Haiti in 1915, the US military adopted the pith helmet due to their reliability on protecting against the sun. Soon, they made their own version of the pith helmet called the fiber helmet, though it's officially designated as the Helmet Sun Rigid Fiber. The helmet was designed by Jesse Howley, and it is the longest serving helmet of the US military still being used to this day. As for the pith helmet itself, despite the decline of hat wearing during the 60s and 70s, the variation of the helmet is still being used by some militaries as part of their ceremonial attire. The famous custodian or bobby helmet worn by policemen in most Commonwealth nations is based on this design. But beyond this, the helmet has become a symbol of imperialism for those who are against it and even for those who support it. In an ironic twist, the pith helmet was widely used by Vietnamese forces during the First Indochina War against the French, and subsequently during the Second Indochina War, or more commonly known as the Vietnam War against the Americans. The helmet has drawn headlines, as it was worn by then First Lady Melania Trump during her visit to Kenya, which was widely criticized by the press and on various social media platforms. But what about the Salakot? Today, this headpiece is still considered as one of the country's traditional symbols. Alongside the Barong Tagalog, it is one of the costumes worn by Juan de la Cruz, the country's national personification. The hat can sometimes be seen in corporate brands like in this famous Filipino condiment. Though not being worn by Filipinos nowadays, the salakot will always be a part of the Filipino national identity for generations to come. For more additional commentaries about the Salakot or the Pith Helmet, click the link on the description below to listen to my podcast episode discussing this video.